Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
When we talk recruiting with Liucci and Brauninger, we're going to talk about DeQuivis Beck, the linebacker who committed to Texas A&M. Oh, that's great. My pack is off? I can hear myself. Am I on? I hear myself talking. And we're on? Yes? Off? Hello. Hey, everybody. My mic says it's on.
Hey, Matthew Dawson, how about you
Tell us something, Matthew Dawson.
Can I tell you a story? I don't really have a story. I drove in an hour today. And is that good? Is that what you want to hear? People want to hear about what I listened to on the drive in this morning?
All right.
Back to David.
I'm still not on. Oh, my God. Hello, guys. Can we talk? The worst start to the show ever, and I've had many of those. I was trying to tell you about DeQuivis Beck, the linebacker. We're going to talk about him. Why do I sound mad? The linebacker. We're going to talk about him with Brauninger and with Liucci. A couple particulars. Named the defensive MVP of the Texas 4A D2 state championship. 10 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss. 1 sack in the game. 6 feet, 215. We will talk a lot about it here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio during the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. I am currently hanging out in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone, but I'm going to work my way to Matthew Dawson, who's playing OB for a segment as he joins us here on the Go Hour. Matthew, we have a topic we're going to get into, but before I do that, can I vent for a moment?
Sure, you're free to do that. I mean, it's your show.
It's really our show. It's the community show, even when the mics don't work. And what I want to talk about is, you're familiar with a gentleman named Paul Feinbaum.
I am familiar with Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah, you know where I'm going with this, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Look, guys, we don't have to do things to excite humans, just like, oh, they're going to like and comment and they're going to retweet. I like Paul. He's very nice. He comes on our show. He's very accommodating. But for him to say that Arch Manning is going to be the best quarterback since Tim Tebow.
Did he say is going to be, or did he say is the best?
I think he said is the best.
Is. And that's what I read, too, because I'm like, so you want to say that he is the best quarterback since Tim Tebow?
That's just to say things to get a reaction.
Which, by the way, that includes that he's better than Cam Newton, which I'm not sure that Tim Tebow is better than Cam Newton, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that
includes John Football.
That includes John Football. That includes Baker.
That includes a certain quarterback who was the quarterback of an undefeated LSU team named Joe Burrow.
That would include that as well.
Okay. That would include some quarterbacks that didn't win the Heisman Trophy. C.J. Stroud, for instance, the Texans quarterback. Really good college quarterback. We don't know. You don't, like, here's an example. Reuben Owens is going to be the best running back since Bo Jackson. Is the best running back since Joe. There's not enough sample set. I love Reuben Owens. He might be, but I can't say that today.
That means, like, you need Arch Manning to be the number 1 pick. You need him to win a Heisman. You need him to win a national championship. Like, he has to do all of those things if that means that he's the best quarterback since insert name here.
I feel like Steve Spurrier might have been right. I disagreed with his comment at the time, but, bro, we don't even know if he's better than Quinn Ewers.
We don't.
We just broed you.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. Anyway, by the way, I started thinking about, this was not the way I wanted to start the show, but I read that headline again. I'm like, I got to start. All right. Who are some quarterbacks or athletes, because I got a couple names for you, that came in with a lot of hype that didn't turn out to be what we thought? At A&M, we have Tate Martell.
Sure. At Wisconsin, they have Graham Mertz,
Yeah.
5-star quarterback. ended up transferring. Did actually probably better at Florida than he was at Wisconsin.
But still
that's a big
was
name.
not what we expected. Now, the Tate Martell one, I didn't know the kid. I've heard some stuff behind the scenes about him. I've seen the social media act. I don't know. Arch Manning is a good kid from all indications, so he is not going to fall in that category. So I'm going to give you some names of guys that seem to be really good people that didn't live up to their hype. Remember Ron Powless?
Yeah.
Bino Cook said he was going to be the greatest guy ever, like two.
Sure.
Okay. Mitch Mustaine at Arkansas.
Wow, what a name.
5-star, 2006 class, 8-0 as a freshman, transferred to USC, didn't do anything after that. Jake Browning at Washington. So these are,
well, he went to the NFL, I mean, eventually. But
didn't live up.
Didn't live up to the hype.
Right.
Sure.
Like, one could argue that Quinn Ewers didn't live up to his hype. I think he did, regardless of where he was drafted, because he got Texas back on the national scene into the playoffs a couple years in a row. So I think he did, but I understand that argument. Arch might be all that. The word is might.
Right. And what does it mean to, like, because these expectations are put, what does he have to do, David, to meet expectations? Now, we're not talking about just Paul Feinbaum's expectations, that he's going to be the best quarterback since Tim Tebow. What does he have to do to meet your expectations of Arch Manning or anyone else?
He's just got, if he is Quinn Ewers-esque, maybe a little bit better statistically, he reaches, right? Like, he doesn't have to win a national champ. Now, for him to reach Paul Feinbaum, that's a different level, right?
Sure.
Like, by the way, the best quarterback since Tim Tebow was not the starter when they won that first national championship with Chris Leak. So Tim's got that on him. Just like Arch last year wasn't the starter, they used him in running situations. He didn't win a national championship. He didn't have the numbers that Tim Tebow had. Stop me there. I typically, like, I try not to watch Texas stuff. I think Arch Manning's very likable. Like, there's something about him that I like, right? Just like I liked Colt McCoy. Not when he played, but, like, there was something about him that I liked, right? He was a likable guy.
Press conference guy.
Yeah, like, he's still my rival. I want him to lose. I want him to throw 6 interceptions. Sure. But I liked VY, and I've dealt with VY many times. Always very polite. I recognize his greatness. But let's stop with these, like, let the kid play a couple of games. Let him finish the season, right? Let's see. All right, let's move on, because I actually brought you on here because you did a little research for us. Wasn't that hard of research. So,
No, really, it wasn't.
But, so yesterday I teased that we're going to talk about this. For A&M to be the kind of team that we need them to be, right? Need them to beat. So you're not 8-4 you.
No.
What do they have to do, Matthew Dawson?
You got to win against really good teams on the road. You have to. And you know what? That's what championship teams do.
When was the last time Texas A&M won a road game, not a neutral site game? I'm not talking about Arkansas. I'm not talking about bowl games. I'm talking about true road games. The last time they beat a ranked road team, or they were the road team on the road. Sorry.
Pausing to give YouTube chat their guesses. 2014, November 8th against Auburn. Unbelievable.
That is
over a decade. 11 seasons of football.
A decade. So, by the way, I'm not saying this is not insurmountable, but when we talk about A&M potentially being a playoff team, you have 3 road games this year that will be ranked.
For sure, definitely.
Minimum. I don't think Missouri will be ranked when we play them, but maybe, November, maybe. I doubt it. But 3, LSU will be ranked when you play them. Correct?
Yeah.
Probably top 10?
I would believe so, yeah.
Notre Dame is, even if they lose to Miami in week 1, they will be ranked. Right?
Texas, we anticipate.
Texas will be ranked when you play them.
Arkansas? No, I'm just kidding.
No. So, of those 3, you have 5 true road games, right? Of those 5, 3 are going to be against for sure ranked teams. We cannot have a discussion about A&M being a potential playoff team or A&M being on the door of the playoffs unless you win road games against ranked teams. Last year, they didn't have any road games against ranked teams. So that last year doesn't count. But they've had plenty since then. Do you know, I put this on the rundown, the average margin of loss in those games?
I believe I read that. You said about 16 around
16 points a game. So a couple touchdowns, that's how much they lose by. Now, that's why, going back to the Josh Pate conversation in EA Sports about, I think we do have to not overvalue, but recognize what A&M's been able to do at home, right? Because if the road splits show you who they really are, well, then those home wins have been fantastic. You made a graphic for us that they've cleaned up quite a little bit. Let's talk about percentages, Matthew, of teams, how they've done on the road against ranked teams.
Well, look, you can see from that, like, winning on the road against ranked teams is tough. Like, over the last, since 2014, teams, if you include Texas and Oklahoma, even when they weren't in the SEC, 76-254 against ranked teams on the road. It is tough to win games on the road. But you look at the left side of that graph, you got Alabama, Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas, and LSU in your top 5 in terms of win percentage against ranked teams on the road since 2014. You know what the common denominator between those 5 teams are? Those are all college football playoff teams, right? None of those other teams have made the college football playoffs except Tennessee, right? They're a little bit lower on that ranking, but when they made the college football playoffs last year, it was an expanded playoff, and their only ranked game that they played on the road, they lost. And then they played another one in the college football playoffs against Ohio State and got murdered. So
Right.
it is essential, if you're going to win championships, that you have to win games on the road against AP ranked teams.
Now, that does not include bowl games, does it?
It does not. Well, no, it doesn't, because they're neutral site games.
Okay. Because, I mean, when was the last time? I guess A&M, the last time they won a bowl game was 2020, and that was a neutral site in Miami. Before that, was it Texas Bowl?
Against Oklahoma State, 2018.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, look, win your bowl games. That's nice. It's not what it used to be, but 9-4 sounds a lot better than 8-5. Okay, regardless, because we have a long off season. Win games on the road, which they did last year. They did win 2 games on the road, which we hadn't seen since 2021 when they beat Missouri, the week after Alabama. Now, the next step, because we're talking about how this will affect this season, the next step is you're going to have to win multiple road games this year, at a minimum 3 road games this year.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. With conference expansion, in terms of if your goal is to make the college football playoffs, I'm not necessarily talking about winning a national championship, making the college football playoffs, how important is it to win these ranked road games now? Because obviously Tennessee didn't do it last year, right? Because they didn't have a team that they played besides Georgia that they lost to. Does it? Obviously, this year it's very important with Texas A&M because you know you're going to be playing multiple ranked teams on the road. But how important is it going to be year by year? Does that mean like scheduling disparity, or I guess scheduling parity? How important is it that you get a good schedule? Like last year, does it highlight even more that like, man, you win that road game against Auburn or South Carolina, and you're playing in the SEC championship.
You're playing in the
with
SEC
a chance to make the college football playoffs.
I think it matters for the long off season that it is when you lose. Okay? So I don't want this to be a narrative next summer when I'm trying to fill time and I'm tap dancing a segment. I'm looking at some of the holes in Texas A&M. I don't want this to be a topic next year. And I know our audience doesn't want it to be a topic, but it only matters if your team's not very good. It'll be a smaller topic next year if A&M goes somehow were to make the playoffs, or even a smaller topic if they're 9-3, right? For them to make the playoffs, this is going to have to end. This streak has to end.
It does.
Right? So, but if you have a kind of season that you walk off and say, you know what, that was a good year. We went 9-3 in the regular season, won a bowl game, 10-3. Yeah, we got to win on the road, but that's the next step. It's fine if it's the next step. It's not fine if there's a lot of steps in between.
Yeah, I agree. But, I mean, you went on the road last year against Florida, and you handled them, like, very well. And that was a team that, sure, their record didn't necessarily...
They weren't very good at that time of the year, though.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Because they'd lost 2 weeks prior to Miami. They were quarterback influx.
A good team.
Yeah,
right.
Quarterback influx, right.
Quarterback influx, but DJ Lagway ended up being the answer down the road. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the high projections that he has this year is congruent with how he performed, last season. But do you just feel like that there's more opportunity for this team with this roster, with this coaching staff? Like, I feel more confident that this team can go out and win on the road. Like, the only team in the SEC since 2014 that has a worse win percentage on the road is Vanderbilt. And they haven't won a road game against an AP-ranked team since 2008, right? So, with that being the floor, I feel like that we can certainly raise the bar with what's going on here.
Look, it's a talking point because it's a talking point. But when you mention confidence in, like, I remember I got to a point during Jimbo's run that, like, I just didn't think we were going to win a road game. And I wouldn't pick A&M to win a road game, right? I don't feel that way with Coach Elko. With Coach Elko, I feel like that streak's going to come to an end this year. I think it may come to an end in week 3 of the season, right? Like, I feel like it could very easily, when they take on Notre Dame, I feel that that could be that first win. And what would that feel like? Bronny and I were discussing like how important that game is versus some of those other SEC road games. To me, let's just get it out of the way so it's not a talking point. Can you imagine that talking point at the end of the year when you go on the road to Texas if you were to lose Notre Dame and lose at LSU midseason? Like,
it's like, oh, you still haven't beaten an AP ranked team on the road since 2014. Yeah, it's a tough way to look at it in terms of walking into that game. Then does that game mean more? I don't think necessarily that it means more. Like, it's going to mean as much as it already does. It means as much as it possibly can every single time you play against, your rival, like your interstate rival.
Yeah.
But man,
now, across the street, I don't think they're breaking it down like this. They're not like thinking, hey, guys, we got to figure out what we're doing wrong on the road against ranked teams. It's not that. It's hey, here's our assignment. Let's go do it at the best of our ability. Here's the holes that this team has, the holes. This is where we can expose them. But from a reality standpoint, it's not one person's fault. You can't blame it on Jimbo, Kevin Sumlin. You can't blame it on all. It's just a fact that A&M has not been good enough. It is bottom line. It is black and white. They haven't been good enough on the road.
Yeah, and again, it's not like it's easy to win on the road either. That's not what we're saying. Like, oh my gosh, like we should be winning on the road every single time we go out on the road. Like Alabama in that Saban era did something that we've just never seen. I mean, it's a 230 win percentage.
By the way, I'm interested. First off, A&M being second worst on this list hurts my heart.
Sure.
But there are some programs on here that have similar road records. Not as bad, because, again, A&M. But Florida being 2-14 on the road against ranked teams.
Yeah, now that number would go up a little bit because the Georgia game's on a neutral site. But, that one's shocking. Auburn was very surprising to me, but that can just show you, like, that Jordan-Hare is just like a pretty special place.
This list is from 2008, right? Or since 2014. Okay.
Yeah, and then
so did they win 2 road ranked games in 2014? Is that why the A&M has a record of 2-16?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and then also the one that surprised me actually the most, more than Florida being bad against AP ranked teams on the road, more than Auburn, Kentucky. You want to know why Mark Stoops has his job still?
Because he wins on the road against good teams?
Because he'll have a signature win a couple times every few years against a really good ranked team on the road. Also, I mean, you throw Louisville in there that they play every year.
Yeah.
A couple times they're ranked, and like that's a game that they can win.
I do think when you look at this list, you look at Texas and you look at Oklahoma, some of that is inflated because of Big 12 schedules.
Sure.
Right? Yes, I recognize they're against ranked teams. Texas last year, if I remember correctly, their only road ranked games was just Georgia. Right? No, the Georgia was at home. I'm sorry.
They had 3. So they had Texas A&M, they had Michigan, and then they had
Michigan was still ranked at that
Vanderbilt was ranked at the point. Like, none of those teams ended up finishing ranked in the AP top 25, but they were 3-0.
But we look at it as a snapshot of that moment.
Right, snapshot at that moment. That's what all this is, too. Oklahoma was 0-1, so Texas and Oklahoma combined last year were 3-1, I guess. But.
And when A&M went to South Carolina last year, even though South Carolina finished 9-3 in 12th or 14th, whatever they finished ranked, they were not ranked when A&M went there.
Right, and you can say that about like a lot of these things. Like there's some also weird games. I was looking back at this. Remember like the Florida LSU game?
Yeah.
Like one of LSU's road wins was when Florida, the player threw that shoe.
That's
like
right.
40 yards down the field. So it's funny stuff. You never know.
All right, if you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up 979-693-1150. We will pick it up on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. And if you want to text the show, that same number, 979-693-1150. Ambry Heath is hanging out at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Big smile. Hello, Ambry.
Hello. Chase and Houston said favorable schedules always matter for special seasons, but you have to figure out how to win any way possible, whether that's on the road or at home. But really why I picked this comment today was because he said, is that a beard that I'm seeing from my brother Nuño?
A beer?
Beard.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I grow.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes.
I was just curious.
I didn't think it was that noticeable on camera. Is it noticeable?
Chase and Houston,
I don't know, like when you grow a beard, I don't know if I need to ask you, like, hey, are you okay? Like, like if you're just
homeless,
had a rough morning, if you've had a rough week, if you've had a rough month.
I'm considering going all James Harden MMA style. That's what I'm considering.
I don't believe that.
Why would I hide this? Just kidding. What else do we have, Ambry?
Texas A&M track and field just picked up Morgan Davis. The sophomore transfer competes in long jump, sprints, and relays. She posted a personal best of 20 feet 5 3/4 inches in the long jump last season.
Excellent stuff. Appreciate you. Now I'm going to do this to you. I don't think I've ever done this to you.
Really?
All right. So A&M has to go on the road. Okay.
Sure.
They're going to take on a ranked team in Notre Dame in week 3. Okay.
Okay.
On the way to the airport, they make a little detour to pick up food for the trip. What would you recommend, Matthew Dawson?
1775 is, of the barbecue joints that you're going to see potentially. Yeah, you got to go a little bit out of the way, but like.
Do you?
Not really. You're going north anyway.
Right.
Well, I guess
it's not right. It's not one street. Yeah, you'll a couple streets over, but whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, actually, I guess. Yeah.
It's not on the way.
Look, but
where there's a will, there's a way, Matthew.
You call ahead. You're telling me that those guys over there, nice as can be. You're telling me that they're not going to have something ready to go.
Put it in styrofoam containers, little forks in there, little wet naps, right?
How about to go?
To go. You've got all the ribs you want. We want Armage eating right.
Oh yeah, he has to. Look, and that's a guy that we talked about. He thought about doing food reviews. As a piece of content. I'm sure that he would get after it in those boys on the offense.
Do me a favor, read this line right here. Let the people know about that.
Their prime meats, smoked to perfection, will show you why they've earned these accolades.
Tell me you're reading without telling me you're reading. All right, it's 1775, txbbq.com, 979-492-6241. It's 1775. Good job.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
TexAgs Live. I'm in a good mood because I'm almost done. Not like forever, but like I'm going to take a couple of days off. No, I'm going to take this job back, even though I know it upsets some people. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, 979-693-1150. I've told you that's the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. Chrissy Freud was supposed to be on the show. She's not. Another meeting. Lots of meetings. We go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Ambry Heath. Who are you going to call today?
My mom.
Okay.
And my dad.
There you go.
And maybe my grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles. Maybe I'll just call everyone today.
We should prank call Billy on the show. What do you have for us?
That'd be really fun. Texas A&M transfer guard Pop Isaac, who suffered a hip injury early last year, has officially been cleared for non-contact activities. Before the injury, Isaacs was putting up 17 points a game and showing off his all-around game. Now under first-year head coach Bucky McMillan, he's expected to be a key piece in A&M's buckyball system.
So we're going to talk to Mark French. It's been a minute since we've had Frenchie on the show. I don't think he goes by Frenchie. And we'll chit-chat with him about his thoughts about Aggie basketball because, look, the question is going to – there's a few questions. There's a lot of questions when you're a new team and a new coach and a new regime. But it looks like they have the scoring punch to compete in the SEC. Do they have the depth and the athletes to be able to run buckyball day one, season one, the way he wants to run it? And that's going to be a big question. That's one of the things that we're going to be discussing with Mark French, because when you look at the roster, like as I've said on this show many times, I'm intrigued by the ability to score. I'm intrigued by the athletes that they've brought in together. And it is like an expansion team that was able to get some really quality players. How would that work in the deepest conference in all of college basketball and all of college sports, right? Like when you talk about the SEC, last year basketball, 14 teams made it to the NCAA tournament. That will not be a yearly occurrence. But if you can be 9 or 10, you have a great chance to get into the NCAA tournament. Can they do that in year one? That will be a question. Some comments on the YouTube page. Randy says, if the Ags go 2-0 on the road against Notre Dame and LSU, it's going to be a great season. Yes. So first off, Randy, you got to take care of business at home. You got to take care of business on the road if you want it to be a special season. To me, is you got to get one of those road ranked wins early. Get that LSU game, reevaluate. I've already done my rankings to where I still think Notre Dame is the most achievable road game. And I think even though Texas is the best team on your schedule, they are second most possible in my opinion, because I just think winning Death Valley at night is ridiculous. I'm not saying that winning in Austin's easy for the folks in Austin listening. I just think a rivalry game at that magnitude, both teams healthy, I think it is a tougher place to play at LSU than I think it is to play at Texas, even if I think Texas is the better team. Who's got the more questions? LSU's got the more questions. What coach has to prove more? Absolutely, at this point, is Brian Kelly. No doubt about it. So there is that. What is this YouTube thing with like a crown? Have you noticed that? What is this new look on YouTube?
I clicked on it because I was also curious, and it's like the top fans for today's comment section.
So if there's been like 6 people in the chat and they just started talking, like they're already ranking?
Yeah, so like Randy's
It's like a
killing it.
preseason ranking before the season's actually happened.
Yeah.
Like choosing somebody as the best quarterback in college football before he's thrown a pass on the road. There was a text that said that.
I have a message that says, on my end, you can do it. Keep showing support to make the top 50, like for the rankings in the comments.
Okay. All right.
I don't know.
Anyway, we're going to do this. We're going to hit a break here. When we come back, we'll do more of that Aggie basketball talk. It's the off season. By the way, when I get back on the show, so today will be my last day for like 7 shows, 6 shows, whatever it is. When I come back on the show, it will be SEC Media Days. So the next time you see me after today, I'll be in Atlanta, and we're going to have an awesome set in Atlanta. We've got this new backdrop that's coming in. I think you're going to love it. Not that you care about that part of it, but the guests are going to be great, and it'll be football. That'll happen. Today, though, I did want to close out. We're going to talk some tennis. Got some big news with Arthur yesterday. It was fun to watch at Wimbledon. And we'll have Steve Denton on the show. We'll have Brauninger on the show. We'll have Liucci on the show. We'll have Johnny Harris on the show. So we have a lot of great guests. But coming up, more Aggie basketball talk. We'll talk to Mark French. Right now, we're talking Duck Camp. It is the most comfortable clothing out there, guys. When you talk about Duck Camp, you've got to think about the hoodies. You got to think about the shirts. You got to think about how it can be worn in all situations. We're talking about you want to go to the gym and look fresh, you go to Duck Camp, get the gear from there. You want to go to the ball game, Duck Camp's got you covered. Hot days, scorchers at Kyle Field or At Olson, they got you. You want to just go to a nice little business dinner, you have it as well, because they can make you look super cash or super dope. And I don't think I should have used dope on this commercial, but I did. Anyway, it's Duck Camp. You can check it out at duckcamp.com. Check out duckcamp.com. Vibes here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Goodness gracious, it's been forever since I've seen this young man. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. Mark French, our buddy, always in an awesome office. I'm so jealous of the views. Mark, what's up, buddy? Oh, fail. We don't hear Mark. That would have been a great intro. Mark, you got us on mute, or is it on our end? This is my last show of the week. And Mark, we don't hear you. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and say, yeah, you got a second, Chris. I'm just going to go ahead and say this is the type of show it's going to be today, guys. Right? Everybody's more concerned with the rankings on the YouTube page than the actual information on the program. Ambry Heath.
Yes, Carthage linebacker.
I just said your name. I didn't ask.
Well, I wanted to tell you something.
Okay, tell me.
Okay. Linebacker DeQuivis Beck has committed to the Aggies after choosing A&M over offers from Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma State, and others. He's 6'2" and 210 pounds.
We're excited about having him on this awesome commitment class, and hopefully they finish the deal. Coach Elko has been on a heater. I think I have it on the rundown. In the last week, A&M football has been able to get DeQuivis Beck, Zayden Krempin, and Avery Morco all to commit in the last 7 days. All right, so they are on a great run. What else do you have?
Arthur Rinderknech, yes, defeated Alexander and pulled off the biggest win of his career, taking down world number 3 Alexander in the first round at Wimbledon. Yes,
he did. We're going to have Steve Denton on the program. In fact, let's hear from Arthur yesterday, if we can get Chris to load up that sound, because yesterday after that awesome victory, which took 2 days, right? I didn't know this. Cade had to break this down to me, but apparently at Wimbledon, they have a curfew at 11 o'clock that you have to, it's got to be done, and it moves on to the next day. They don't keep going into the middle of the night like A&M, LSU, 7 overtimes. They'll just say, all right, we'll start it tomorrow. Here's Arthur yesterday.
I don't even know where to start. It starts for sure with the crowd, because I'm feeling the same way as you guys. I don't know, this woo, every time I'm dying. I'm dying every time you guys are saying woo. I'm like, my legs are still shaking. I can't do it anymore. Just so happy the match is finished. We started yesterday at at 8. We finished today at 7. Slept about 6 hours last night. So yeah, it's very difficult, this sport. But what a moment! What such emotions!
Great soundbite there, and we'll be talking about it. And I saw that he is favored in the next matchup, so he potentially could make it to the next round of the semis. All right, I think we've got Mark French ready to go. I see him. No, we don't have him ready to go, so we're just going to keep on tap dancing. We go to the text line, and John in Cyprus says, DN on vacation with some scruff goat and looking like a retired member of New Kids on the Block with a little flip banging and hanging down. That's pretty good. Are you familiar with New Kids on the Block?
I mean, I've heard of them, but I can't sit here and be like, yeah, I know.
You don't know Jordan Knight, Donnie Wahlberg? No, none of them. Familiar with Mark Wahlberg?
Sure.
You don't know who Mark Wahlberg is?
I mean, I've heard the name.
Have you ever seen a movie with Mark Wahlberg?
Probably.
You want to Google him and see, because right now I feel like you have no idea who I'm talking about.
I do.
Donnie and Mark.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's one of the most famous people in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I said I love him, but I have watched his movies.
I have interviewed him, and yeah, I have. Okay. And I thought his handshake was not up to par. Yeah, it was interesting. I think he had maybe broken his hand from, what movie did he make? It wasn't The Fighter, was it? It was The Fighter, where he and Christian Bale were in the movie. He might have broken his hand in that, and I shook his hand. I was like, I was expecting more from you. All right, let's do this, because I don't know if we're ever going to get Mark French on. We're going to hit an early break and get him on the other side, because if we can't get Zoom to work, instead of tap dancing and giving average radio, we're going to get him on the phone. 979-693-1150 is the Buppy's Catering hotline. We'll hit a break right now. We're talking Rollo Insurance. Insurance decisions shouldn't be made in 15 minutes. You should have somebody who understands your situation, and they take their time not only understanding your situation, but explaining the situation so you can make the right decision for you. And that's what they do at the Rollo Insurance Group. They have expertise in everything from home and auto to business to specialty coverage. Their agents provide tailored options to your specific need. They take time to explain policy details in plain language, ensuring that you never miss or wondering about your coverage. They're fantastic. I've got Morgan taking care of me, Jackson and Jason, the whole crew are really going to take amazing care of you. 60 offices in the great state of Texas, and you can call them up at 888-44-ROLLO. That number again, 888-44-ROLLO, or visit their website, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is at 10:50 in a couple of hours, but right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. We're going We're going to hope it works this time because this show has had some issues. We go to the Buppy's Catering hotline. Volume on. Mark French, our good friend. What's up, buddy?
What's up? In the words of the great Gabe Bach, hey, good morning, Aggieland. No, it's good to see y'all. And David, it's good to see your face, my friend, and excited to be here.
It's been a minute since we've spoken some Aggie hoops, so I'm happy to get you back on the show. I just want to get your thoughts on not only the Bucky hire, but just the thoughts of what this hire is bringing. Like it's bringing a different chapter in Aggie's basketball. I don't want to say maybe history, but like it just feels like we're turning the page completely from the old regime.
Yeah, no, and I think that's pretty common nowadays. You know, you think about whole staffs move, and just like players are moving more than ever. You know, the coaching carousel, not just at the head coach level, but the assistant coaching level too. What Buzz did, where he kept an entire staff intact and a roster intact, that's going to be kind of uncommon as we go forward. But I think as a just looking at it from a macro perspective, it does feel new, doesn't it? It feels fresh, and I think some of that is just Bucky's age. We got a really, really young and energetic guy. Not to say what Buzz or BK or anyone before that wasn't. Bucky's just very much on the young end, but obviously his resume speaks for itself, and I couldn't be more excited. I'm pumped to meet him. I'm pumped to go see Darby and Coach Keller and all those guys. So I think they've done an unbelievable job putting together their staff, and obviously hit the portal really hard, and it does feel new. And then I think, a lot of people are just excited about the offensive fast-paced style, right? And 83 points per game last year. We're going to score some points. We're going to get some threes up, and instead of just maybe it's just a different approach, right? And so I think that freshness is permeating throughout the entire program right now.
Have you paid attention to what Buzz has been able to do at Maryland? Any thoughts on the team he's trying to construct there with a couple of guys who played here?
Yeah, no, I think, look, Buzz is obviously, I think the world of Buzz, and I think Maryland's going to be an awesome spot for him. And honestly, I think sometimes things just run its course for both sides. And I think this is a situation where I think it was a win-win for both sides. And look, Buzz was a perennial winner here. I mean, you think about the floor of A&M basketball the last 5 or 6 years. We're posting 21 seasons. We're in the tournament, and he's just an unbelievable leader, and I'm excited to follow his journey at Maryland, right? But I'm also very excited having, kind of dug into Bucky's past, and obviously he was at Mountain Brook. I grew up in Memphis, a couple hours up the road from Birmingham, and we played Mountain Brook in some summer leagues, and I'm just really excited. I think, the roster that he's building really fits his style of play. You look at the guards that have a lot of pop and punch, and then getting M'Baku from Indiana. So we could go down all the list of the players I've been digging in, but I think at a high level, I think moving in this new direction, I think it's going to be good for A&M. I think Buzz will do great at Maryland, and I think Bucky's going to be a home run hire for A&M basketball.
All right, let's start it with the name you said there, M'Baku. Like when I talk, Mark, you've maybe tuned in when I've talked about it, but I'm just very intrigued by the kind of talent they brought in. It does not mean that all this recipe is going to work into an awesome gumbo, right? But it feels like for June conversation or July conversations that we're in a good place. Like these are some guys that can score, and M'Baku has these NBA aspirations, and he probably could have gotten in the second round this year potentially. If he has the big year, maybe he shoots himself into that first round.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I had some buddies who are up at the NBA level when he was at, I guess he had a good showing at the Combine and some things like that, and kind of tested the waters, so to speak. And I think it's an unbelievable game. He was north of 12 points per game and 5 rebounds at Indiana last year. And I think in life, I think it's really important to make your bet on what is, not what might be. And I think Bucky's got a lot of these guys that we know what they are, right? Like Marcus Hill at NC State, that's ACC competition, 11 points per game. Pop Isaacs, arguably one of the most talented guys we got out of the portal. He could be in that 15-plus points per game if he's healthy. Obviously, M'Baku, 12 points per game at Indiana. you go and get Rylan Griffin, the Bama and Kansas kid, who is just uber talented. And then obviously he's bringing Holloway over from Samford. So I just think there's a lot of proven, mature guys. And I haven't gone through the class breakdown, but I think it's going to tilt towards more juniors and seniors, which always bodes well, especially in a transition year, having a level of maturity.
Well, one name that I've seen clips, I got to see how it looks at the NCAA level, but Ruben Dominguez, I mean, like it just sounds like this guy's got international experience, has played high level, can shoot the three, he's got nice size. I think he's 6'6" at the guard position. He's an unknown per se that could be a huge payoff.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And when it comes to, I think when it comes to there's something going on in college basketball right now where the guys that are younger and playing over in Europe, they can honestly make more money being here. And also just the exposure and the baseline of talent in college basketball is, equal or maybe even better some of these lower leagues overseas. And so being able to snag him, one of my buddies was texting me when all that was going on. It was like, man, Bucky has been relentless in pursuing talent and scouring it and scouring not just the country, but obviously overseas now too. And so you have to play this style. You have to have knockdown shooters, and you have to have no filter on guys where they'll just keep shooting. And they have a baseline talent level that's really high and can put the ball in the hoop. So I think he's doing that. And I think obviously all these guys can make a basket from deep, and it just opens up so many options.
Mark, you think they're deep enough? Do you think they're deep enough to play that pace that Bucky's going to want to play on both ends? And are they a team that you think maybe at the end of it, like they're in the mix for potentially a spot in the playoffs, or excuse me, the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, no, I think it's just too. I'd be lying to you if I said yes or no so far. I do think the makeup is there, and I think if you said, we're going to go get two Kansas guys, an Indiana starter, an NC State starter, a Creighton, one of the most talented guys on the roster, and then bring Holloway over from Samford. That's a good start, and the pieces they built around the periphery are really good. So I don't know. Maybe they're a guy or two short. Maybe they have enough, and time will tell on that front. It's way too early to be kind of going into those kind of talks, I think. But if you were to just kind of glance down at the roster, and there are some names that pop, pun intended. But I'm super excited just to be in Reed Arena and them letting it fly. I'm very, very excited.
Talking to Mark French here on TexAgs Live. Mark, let's talk about a couple guys with NBA aspirations and they're hoping to get a chance. Zurich Phelps signs I guess a summer deal with the Dallas Mavericks, and Wade to Milwaukee. What do you think about, I feel like those guys need a little bit more seasoning at that level, but I mean, the Ags have done a really nice job of these guys that we weren't sure, then we become sure what they get to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Quentin Jackson with the Pacers, right? Dexter Dennis had some shine in the league, actually for the Mavericks as well. And I think some of that's just Buzz does a good job of preparing guys, and I think it's good for Aggie basketball. With DeAndre aging and Chris Middleton, probably in the latter quarter or latter half of his career, I think we need some fresh faces in the league. That's important for recruiting purposes and a myriad of things. But I think we'll continue to see that, and it is about talent accumulation to some degree if you want to make deep runs in March and compete for SEC championships, which I think that's what Bucky's here to do. And as far as Zurich and Wade go, guards, it's just really hard. It's really hard to make it. There's so many great guards and so many talented guys, and it's really less sometimes about the talent and the skill, and it's about the fit and opportunity. And so we'll see. Obviously, Milwaukee just let go of Dame, and you never know how these things shake out. And G League's not a bad situation too, to go post up a bunch of big numbers and give yourself options.
All right, 30 seconds. Who do you think, and I don't know how much you cover the NBA or follow the NBA, which is going to be the best Texas team next year in the NBA?
The Mavs. Come on now. We got Kyrie, Clay, Cooper Flag, AD. We might even trade for LeBron. We'll do PJ and Gafford for LeBron, and Houston better get ready. We're coming for you.
So, are you okay with the trade now?
Huh?
Are you okay?
Initially, I was not. I'm still not. I loved Luka. This city really loved Luka, Nuño, and that was really tough. But getting
trade.
Cooper Flag is just it's unbelievable. He's going to be a star, and he's getting to start his career around all these future Hall of Famers who he's going to get to learn from and learn all the tricks of the trade. So NBA is going to be incredibly fun next year, especially in Texas.
Miss you, brother. Thanks so much for your time.
Great to see you guys. All right.
See you. Giga, Mark French. Buppy's Catering Bartending Hotline. When we come back, John Harris next on TexAgs Live. Good friend, Darius Rucker. You know why I call him my good friend? I interviewed him once. And he likes Batman.
Did he have a good handshake?
He did. He had a very nice handshake.
Good.
And he likes Batman, and he saw my Batman thing and started following me on Twitter. So I say that we're good friends.
Awesome.
Famous people following people on Twitter. That's my game.
Who follows you on Twitter?
Nobody, just Darius Rucker and Billy Liucci. Anyway, we'll have Billy here on the program in the 10 o'clock hour. We're actually going to do an earlier recruiting country with Bronny here in a little bit. We're waiting on John Harris. I am not sure when he's going to be on the program. Just waiting to get him on the show because it's been that kind of show. Oh, John says it keeps kicking him off, so we'll just have to call him on the line. There's a lot of discussion going on the YouTube page. I think the earlier topic we had about winning on the road has been it's a real topic because there's folks, and Randy's one of them, that really thinks we're going to be able to win on the road. And then there's others like, until you win on the road, I don't believe you can win ranked games on the road. A&M's going to win a ranked game on the road this year, and I think it's going to happen in September. That's how I'm stating July 2nd. By the way, July 2nd, birthday of one of the most famous Cuban baseball players of all time, Jose Canseco. Happy birthday, Jose. You a big Jose fan? My buddy John Harris on the Bumpy's Catering and Bartending Hotline is a big Jose Canseco fan. What's up, Johnny?
Baseball America. And I remember reading an article that talked about his mammoth home runs. And I was like, oh, okay, I got to know about this dude. And next thing you know, he's breaking records. And this was even before he was taking steroids. He was such a monster. His bat speed, I mean, he was incredible. And, of course, he became kind of a caricature of himself, which was kind of rough. But before that, that dude was a straight baller. He was incredible.
Yeah, he was my favorite for obvious reasons as a kid. And I got to meet him. He was great. But what he became later, he's a fun follow on Twitter because he believes everything he says, and he says some crazy stuff. Johnny, I wanted to ask you, look, I'm sure it'll come up with Billy later. We started the show talking a little bit about Feinbaum's comments on Arch. And I'm just like, did you hear what he said about Arch?
No, I didn't get a chance to hear it. I can only imagine what he said.
He said that Arch is the best quarterback in college football since Tim Tebow in 2008. I know you to be a historian. I could ask you about the best quarterbacks of 1981, and you could tell me 3 of them right now. But I'm not going to do that unless you want to tell me. But I'm going to say, Johnny, that's a long time. And I don't know if he's going to be the best quarterback since, 2018. Because since 2018, we've had Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels. I don't even know if he's going to be better than Quinn Ewers. He might be. He could be. But to say he is, I think, is ridiculous.
Yeah, that statement, which, again, is kind of perfectly Feinbaum. There should be a Twitter account called Perfectly Feinbaum, and you take all of his comments and then just repost them or quote tweet them with your own responses, because that's ridiculous. By the way, in 1981, John Elway, Dan Marino were pretty damn good. So was Todd Blackledge at the time at Penn State. So those are 3 I remember from 1981 off the top of my head. Doug Flutie was a freshman at Boston College, came into a game against Penn State. He was pretty damn good too, even as a true freshman. To make that statement is, and I can't say the word I want to say, but it's effing stupid. I'm sorry. It's just stupid. I mean, he might not even be the best Manning quarterback ever. Archie was so good. And Peyton didn't beat Florida, but god dang, Peyton was great at Tennessee. And Eli basically revived Ole Miss football. So it's just such an asinine statement. And there have been so many good quarterbacks. I mean, just look at the NFL and think about, how many of them won a Heisman, that were great. Bryce Young. Bryce hasn't started off great at Carolina, but, how would Texas feel if they got the college version of Bryce Young this year? I mean, Texas win a national championship. So the guy's throwing 95 passes. He threw 95 passes last year. 72 of them were against UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, and Mississippi State. That's what he's done. So we can't, so many quarterbacks in our lifetime have looked great in shorts and T-shirts. They look great. Oh, man, I saw him throw at the Manning Passing Academy. And look, you can get a pretty good read on a guy when you watch of what skills he has, how talented he is. You can see that. You can absolutely see that. But to say, having played the number of games he's played and what he has done, and I go back to, I think it was Spurrier, and Spurrier is always great in these situations. And Spurrier's like, well, he's so damn good, how come he didn't beat out Quinn Ewers? And I'm, there's a part of me that wonders that, Now, Ewers, I think, meant something for Texas team that maybe Arch wouldn't give him at the time, but I think now there's an opportunity for Arch to step in. But to say he's going to be the greatest quarterback based on 23 passes against teams not named UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, and Mississippi State, like, come on, man, what are we doing here? What are we doing? But I know exactly what we're doing. We're getting near the college football season, and Feinbaum's always been that guy to say, well, I think this is the stupidest thing that's ever happened in sports. I think this is the best thing that's ever happened to the SEC. He is an absolute troll in whatever way you want to say it. And you know me, I don't live my life that way. And I think that's just, saying things is saying things. Now, if you want to step out and say, look, I think Arch is going to be pretty good. These are the reasons why. Okay, that's fine. But you can't go on previous history, because what has he done? First of all, in high school, he played Isidore Newman. He didn't play the highest level of Louisiana high school football. And he's only thrown, like I said, 95 passes. Now, you can see the athleticism, you can see the arm strength, but on a week-in, week-out consistent basis, are we going to see that in the SEC? It's a lot harder playing in the SEC than it is playing Division III or Division IV football, whatever Isidore Newman was back in Louisiana. So I think Arch is going to be really good. But I'm not going to sit here and be Feinbaum and say, oh, he's the greatest ever. No. It's like, I never would have said, even when Johnny was going, at Texas A&M, oh, he's the greatest ever. Look, man, it's such a subjective argument, too. But I wouldn't do that either. So I just think that he's doing what he normally does, which is stoke the fires, get everybody pissed off, and everybody talking about it. And you know what I just did? I just ate up how many minutes of your radio show talking about David? That's exactly what Feinbaum's doing for radio stations across the Southeast. He's getting radio stations. He's getting blog sites, websites, all, up in arms about what he just said. He's getting exactly what he wanted. And I know my feeling is he thinks he's full of you-know-what, and we all know he's full of you-know-what.
Now, if he lives up to it, then he's going to be able to see it. See, I told you guys, but that's a different conversation. Johnny, let's take it in a different direction. I'm going to go ahead 10 years, okay? So he goes all the way back to 2008. Let's go to 2018. Who in that stretch, give me your 2, 3, 4 best quarterbacks in college football since 2018.
Well, I mean, it was for a year, but Joe Burrow was as good for that year. I would have told you it was kind of a one-year wonder if he hadn't come into the NFL and become one of the best in the league. And I saw that Joker up close a couple years ago in Cincinnati, and he wasn't even healthy. And, I mean, you talk about what an excellent quarterback. Holy smokes. So, Joe Burrow was just incredible. I mentioned Bryce Young. Bryce Young, for the 2 years that he was a starter, A, had to deal with Bill O'Brien as his offensive coordinator, and B, really the second year, that defense was not living up to that standard, and so he had to carry them in games. I think Bryce Young, you can make a case, is as good as any quarterback we've seen since 2018. Joe Burrow obviously is right up there. And, of course, we live in SEC land, so those are the first that kind of popped to mind. Caleb Williams was damn good. And I know people, didn't, he was always kind of quirky, painted his nails. His mom's a cosmetician or cosmetologist. She would paint his, he's a little different, a little quirky. And you could tell he had kind of a diva side. But, man, Caleb Williams was damn good. I mean, he was really good. Can you imagine Texas, with Caleb Williams this year? So, those are the ones that come to mind since 2018. In 2018, it's kind of a good, kind of a focal point in a sense, because 2018 NFL draft had Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. They were all going in college football in 2017. Deshaun Watson was 2016. And he was a great college quarterback. Trevor Lawrence was a tremendous college quarterback. Never won a Heisman, did win a national championship as a freshman. He was a tremendous college quarterback. So 2018 to me is kind of that. It's kind of a nice defining line, if you will, because those quarterbacks were all in that particular draft. Now, I think Josh Allen has gone on to be a better NFL quarterback than he was a college quarterback, but Baker was incredible. I mean, I don't think people give credit for how good Baker was as a college quarterback. So from that standpoint, 2018 is a nice little spot, but I think Joe Burrow, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, those are the three that immediately stand out. And it's kind of strange too, because we had that COVID year.
Yeah.
So in that COVID year, what really did we see? And it's kind of hard. And so I think that kind of threw off a little bit of the quarterback development. But I think we're kind of getting back there. I think this last draft that we had for quarterbacks, I'm sorry, not this draft, 24's draft. And you had Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Caleb, Jaden Daniels. My God, Jaden Daniels, man, holy cow. How good was Jaden Daniels for the 2 years he was at LSU?
Yep.
So from that standpoint, there have been half a dozen or more that have just been studly, even in the toughest conference in America. That's the standard that Arch Manning has to live up to at the University of Texas. And quite honestly, I think there's going to be disappointment on the Texas side because they think he's going to win 5 Heismans in 2 years. And, he's going to carry us to 8,000 national championships. And that's going to be a tougher road to hoe than I think the Texas people want to think. Now, if Texas hits on all cylinders and Arch is all that, then Texas win a national championship. I hate to say it.
Look, I'm going to give you a couple names, Johnny, of quarterbacks that don't get the kind of run that we just mentioned, that if he's that good, he's in that conversation, right? Like Hendon Hooker. How about the run he had, in a couple seasons? Michael Penix. These are names that we don't talk about in that same vein, but if you are an SEC quarterback with those kind of numbers at a team that's ranked in the top 5, you're going to get that kind of run. And those are just a couple names recently. Mac Jones won a freaking national championship. He's a name that we don't talk about a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you just look in the NFL right now at quarterbacks that, you mentioned Michael Penix, guy went number, 8 or 9 in the draft, a couple years ago. And, he's a transfer from Indiana. And how he turned that thing around, in a sense, basically he stayed healthy. He was always talented. He just had to stay healthy, and he finally did. But, Hendon Hooker is a really good example because I think Hendon was on his way to winning a Heisman Trophy, or at least being in New York for the ceremony. And then he goes down. And all of a sudden when he goes down, Tennessee shot at a national championship, his shot at a Heisman Trophy. And it just shows how tough this thing, can be. But there have been so many good quarterbacks. And in fact, it kind of segues into this. I'll have posted today on footballtakeover.com my highest, or my Harris 100 top. I don't know how many quarterbacks I ended up doing because I was basically doing it kind of on round where I thought guys would go per round, or where I kind of thought, who was draft eligible. This is a pretty good draft eligible class of quarterbacks. And ironically, I did not put Arch Manning. Now I explained my process and why I didn't put him in there. But this group of quarterbacks is really good, even in the SEC without Arch. With Lenore Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, those two, kind of kick it off. And there's going to be a surprise somewhere in there. But I talked about it from a draft perspective. And so those two were top 2 for me, and are top 2 for me. And I'll have that posted today. I've got their scouting reports up at footballtakeover.com already. So I just think this is it's a really good quarterback class. If Arch has a great year and does come out, Sellers does come out, and all these guys do come out, it could be one of the better quarterback classes we've had. Now, if Arch goes back to school, which I anticipate he'll do, Sellers maybe not as great, and he goes back to school, then it's Nussmeier and everybody else, and it's not a great quarterback class. But I think in college football, the quarterbacks this year, even though we lost a few from last year going to the NFL, et cetera, the quarterbacks are what's going to carry this year, because there really aren't, as you look at it, like this running back class, and I'll have that class posted tonight on footballtakeover.com. That running back class is not great. It's not great at all, especially when you compare it to last year's classes. I'm going through, I'm like, man, I only got like 12 guys I think are even close to draft eligible, and I know I should have more. But the quarterbacks are going to carry this year. Feinbaum, SEC, ESPN need Arch Manning to be all that in a bag of chips this year.
Talking to John Harris here. Hey, Johnny, I wanted to get your thoughts as a guy who's coached before, especially young players. Some of these quotes that have come out this offseason, our team put together a bunch of quotes that I'll throw out at you. Diego Pavia, you want to play the best, you don't want to play versus the Big Ten. He also says Vanderbilt's going to run Tennessee after this year, like it's going to be the new staple of college football is going to happen here at Vandy. Thomas Castellanos, I dream of moments like this. I dream of playing against Alabama. They don't have Nick Saban to save them. Jeremiah Smith talking about Michigan. I just hate them, just something about them. For the next few years, I promise you I will not lose to them. I can't lose to them in the next 2 years. I actually don't have a problem with Jeremiah Smith. The other ones, I have a little bit of an issue if I'm their coach.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I hated that. But here's the difference. Back in, the year 2000, which is a very long time ago, we didn't have Twitter. Hell, we didn't have Facebook. We had no way to tell everybody how good we were.
MySpace.
We're going to kick your ass. I guess I was starting up, but it was not a way. There wasn't a microphone in our face. We didn't have podcasts 24/7, 365. We didn't have people asking us questions and, saying, hey, what do you think about the state of Tennessee? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was Diego Pavia from a coaching standpoint, but I would tell everybody who listened, like, you guys are all fools if you don't think we're going to be good this year. I mean, I would have gone on Twitter and told everybody. I would have had a biblical quote or two that would have said how great we were going to be as a team. Don't underestimate us. I would have done all that too. We just didn't have access to that. We didn't have the ability to go live on Instagram and tell everybody our waking thoughts for 5 minutes. We didn't have that. And I think that's what drives it. I think kids now are just like they were before. I went to high school with a bunch of cocky kids and confident kids. I was in college with, people that thought they were smarter than Bill Gates, and they would tell everybody. It's just, it fell in a vacuum. Nobody was listening because where was it going to go? Now, if you ran into somebody at the mall or the Orange Julius and you wanted to get in a beef, then heck yeah, go for it. And then you could talk all about it when you went down to the Sbarro and got some pizza. But there was just no way or no entity that put it out there to share for everyone. And so you had no idea what people were saying about you. You just went about your business, unless it ended up in the papers. And that was the only thing we had. And there weren't many people that talked to the papers and gave quotes. And when they did, it was right there for everybody to see. I think we have more ways now for Diego Pavia, Jeremiah Smith, all the guys you mentioned, to talk and to say, hey, this is what I feel. This is what I think. We were all thinking and saying that back in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. It's just nobody heard it. It fell into a vacuum, unless you said it on TV. And that was only reserved for the high and mighty, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball. But now everybody's got a podcast, and for all kinds of reasons. Hey, man, this is the Donut Hut podcast coming to you live from Burbank, California, which I'm passing right now. And we're talking about the best sprinkled donut in Los Angeles. We got better than Winchell's. Well, Winchell's hears it. Winchell's is pissed off, and that's exactly what happens. But, man, nobody did that because we didn't have the means to do it. And I think that's really what it is. But as far as them saying it, I got no problems with them saying it. But you better back it up, because you're going to get made a fool when that doesn't happen. And that used to happen to the people that did talk, that were monitored on a daily basis. When Steve Spurrier said something Steve Spurrier-ish and it didn't come to fruition, he got killed by Tennessee fans. He got killed by Georgia fans. But when Steve Spurrier said something about the best thing about Ray Goff as the coach at Georgia is that he's staying, it made Georgia fans mad. And then he went out and beat Goff 52-17 in Athens. And it was like, what could they say about it? So you can back it up if you're Diego Pavia, and you can back it up if you're Jeremiah Smith, because you're arguably the greatest college player maybe ever after a freshman year. But it's just back then we said those things, but nobody heard it. Now Jeremiah speaks, and millions hear it because he's become such a figure in college football. And obviously college football has become a much bigger deal than it was even 25 years ago. So to me, that's what it is. But back then, if my guys said it, I didn't really worry about it because nobody was listening to our Episcopal high school football podcast back then, only like the parents maybe. And so I really didn't have to worry about it. My worry was I had to get them thinking the right way. I had to get them thinking like that. I'd much rather get them thinking like that than, they were running their mouths. And that, we just didn't have a big football program. And so they were always kind of like, are we really that good? I had to build them up. But had I been a coach now, I certainly would have been on social media. But I would just warn them of, look, remember who's reading this. If you make a statement, you're going to have to answer for it. You're going to have to back it up. On a different vein, but kind of similar, I saw yesterday at UCLA, they posted their Twitter handle of who was going to Big Ten Media Days. Nico Iamaleava is scheduled to go. Well, they better school that man on what he needs to say at that Big Ten Media Days, or it's going to be a disaster. And he's going to get skewered by everybody. So to me, there is a plan you need to have now, I think, for your team and for your players, for how you should handle the media, how you should go about it. But if you have some confident kid that pops off that can back it up, I got no problems with it.
Johnny, great stuff. Happy 4th, brother. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. See you, brother.
Later.
Talk to you soon.
John Harris on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Steve Denton, talk a little bit about Arthur's victory. Milliken Reserve Time. Farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Let me tell you about the neighborhoods, because the real estate, the neighborhoods at Milliken Reserve are nothing like your typical subdivisions. They're based entirely on that Brazos Valley landscape and heritage, closely linked to the land with deep Texas roots. There's no place like Milliken Reserve. You got the creek, homes on 10-plus acre wooded estates, through the owner's expression, his vision, the hollow homes in a private gated community, and you've got the meadows. The meadows are responsive to that natural surrounding. Milliken Reserve is rooted in that Texas soil. And if that sounds like a place for you, you can learn more at millikenreserve.com, where you can go hiking, biking, canoeing, you name it. You can have a great time at the outdoors or just live in there. It is millikenreserve.com, the website, millikenreserve.com. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games. They're at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Before we go to the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline and talk to Steve Denton, let's listen to the last few seconds yesterday as Arthur Rinderknech had his victory, and ESPN gave a shout out to A&M and just a cool few minutes or a few seconds.
Here it is. The center court surprise spread over 2 days. And the Frenchman, Texas A&M Aggie, gigs him and stuns Zverev in the biggest win of his life.
Go to the hotline, and that's where we talk to Steve Denton, Aggie men's tennis coach. Coach Denton, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really well. Thank you.
I got to give you props. You texted me, I think it was Sunday, it might have been Monday, like, hey, you better be tuning in, and I was tuning in. Talk a little bit about it from a former player perspective and seeing what Arthur was able to do.
Well, I mean, first of all, getting to play on the biggest court of the world in front of millions of people is a great honor. First of all, to get to play there, and then playing the number 3 player in the world is also an amazing honor as well. To step on that center court where many have been before is just a great opportunity. And as we spoke before, I told him a couple things, obviously take it in and enjoy it, but you're not there to entertain. You're there to win. And so he did a great job in the first set. I kind of talked to him about taking care of his serve, and he served amazing the whole match from the first day on Monday until the second day. I believe he served over 70% first serves, which is unheard of, as well as Zverev. Both of them served lights out. They're having a heat wave in England right now. The first 2 days were in the low 90s, and that's very uncharacteristic there. So it creates a bit of speed on the ball to call the ball to go through the air pretty quickly. And because of that, it was ideal serving conditions for both players. And so it was really going to be about who was going to be able to break serve. And in the first set, Arthur won a close tiebreaker, played a really good tiebreaker to win it, no breaks to serve. In the second set, they have a curfew there at Wimbledon that, because they didn't go on the court till about 8 o'clock that night, or maybe even 9 o'clock, they have a curfew of 11 p.m. So they knew that likely after the second set, they were going to have to stop because it was getting close to 11 o'clock. And so Arthur was up 5-3 in the tiebreaker in that second set, and Zverev ended up, as he knows how to do, to raise his level and won 4 points to win the tiebreaker to equal the match at one set each. And, of course, then they had to sleep on it. And I texted Arthur during the night. I just said, I know you can't do anything about what just happened, and it has no bearing on the match at all. And so you just got to go out and jump on him tomorrow. And the conditions are even going to be faster because at night the court is they close the lid, the roof, and so the court is slower and it's cooler in there. But the next day I knew it was going to be 90 degrees again, and of course it was, and it was a lot faster conditions and a bit different. And Arthur really adjusted. He jumped on Zverev and actually broke him twice in the third set to go up 2-1 to give him some real belief in himself that he could win that match. And then in the fourth set, it was a seesaw affair. Neither one of them really having any chances to break serve. And Arthur again was on the cusp of winning. He was 2 points away, and Zverev came back and won that tiebreaker. And then you kind of think, well, experience is going to take over, and maybe this is not going to be Arthur's day. And but the great thing was early in the fifth set, which was a bit of a mental lapse, I thought, from Zverev. He was up 40-love on his serve at 1-all, and he ended up Arthur coming back and winning that game, and that propelled Arthur to kind of go ahead and have a break a serve ahead in the fifth set, and he was able to consolidate that, get ahead, and eventually served it out. And, went that whole match, David, without losing his serve one time, which is a remarkable feat against one of the best players in the world.
What can you tell me about his matchup with Christian Garin? I think it's pronounced, from Chile. Just any thoughts on this one?
Totally different match. First of all, he's got to play again today. Sometimes when you have a signature win like that, you've got to be able to, that it's the mark of a good player, and the improvement of a player is to be able to back it up with another good result. And this will be a totally different match. This guy's small and fast, returns well, has a good forehand, and they're going to be playing on, as I expected, court 17, which has a bit of an atmosphere and some stands, but, certainly not the center court of Wimbledon. So he's got to overcome that mentally, the letdown of having a high yesterday and continuing to realize that he's still in this tournament with a chance. And obviously Garin had a straight set win in his first round match, and experienced player. But if Arthur serves well again, I think he comes through this match, but we'll see. We'll see if mentally he can get back up and be ready to get back on the horse and compete really hard again today.
Steve, last thing for you. When you just talk about A&M and this platform that Arthur and Carson on the women's side yesterday, and Austin and Jackson all are providing, just your thoughts on seeing A&M in the big lights with what these guys are doing?
Well, it's been, we've had it happen for a while. I mean, Arthur played Yannick Sinner first round at the French Open this year on the head stadium court of Roland Garros. And he also, had to go through that. Then he was able to beat Ben Shelton and Riley Opelka, two really big servers on that are like Zverev in that regard, that serve really well. He was able to win those two matches at Queens before he lost to Alcaraz. So he kind of prepped himself pretty well for this. And as far as for A&M is concerned, my goal all along has been to try to not only win here and be successful, but to produce professional tennis players and give these kids an opportunity to get to do what I got to do way back when. And it's great to see. I think there were maybe 2 weeks ago, we had 10 players playing at the challenger level, which is kind of equivalent to AAA baseball, or on the tour. We had 10 guys playing on the circuit just a couple weeks ago. And I think it's just a testament of what we've been able to accomplish with younger players, to get them to believe and still keep the fire lit for them to go and try to go play the tour. And obviously it's a great shot in the arm for us for recruiting. We've got a bunch of guys on our team right now currently that all want to go play pro tennis in the future. And my staff, Kevin O'Shea and Barney Smith, have done an amazing job with our young players to try to get them to have the type of work ethic that's necessary in order to be a professional tennis player. And it's been awesome to watch our kids. A sense of pride yesterday to hear Chris Fowler, who I know pretty well, say something about us and say something about Arthur, just means the world to me. And I know the university is super excited. That's free publicity there to get to have Aggie on the greatest tennis court in the world, and be able to perform like that was just an amazing thing.
Steve, I appreciate your time. Happy 4th of July. Let's keep the wins coming.
We'll do our best, but thanks so much. I appreciate your support, David. Have a great day.
You too, sir. Thank you so much. Steve Denton here on the Buppy's Catering Bartending Hotline. We'll hit a break, come back with Bronny. Got to get it in because recruiting country is going to be good next on TexAgs Live. Recruiting Country, presented by American Momentum Bank. Ryan Brauninger, your thoughts. What's up, buddy?
Is that how this is going to go after I get manipulated once again? So
manipulated?
Yeah, my airtime gets manipulated more so than anybody else here. But it's, you know what? Not going to say anything else about it because I'm a team player. Whatever the team needs, I'm willing to do.
Whatever the team needs?
Whatever.
And you won't talk about it out loud?
Nope.
Even though you've already done it?
Not anymore. I'm done.
I think you've done this before.
I'm starting right now.
Starting now. DeQuivis Beck.
Yeah, that was one that we felt was going A&M's direction, especially after the commitment of his teammate KJ Edwards, and the Aggies add a linebacker from obviously an incredible program in Carthage, and a guy that in the state championship game when the lights were shining the brightest made a ton of plays. And that's where I thought, I was unsure about what I thought about DeQuivis Beck as a prospect, not because I was unsure of the kid as a player, because I've never seen him play until that state championship game, and he left a really good impression, at least with me, in that performance to bring home a state championship for Carthage. But this is the start of a off-ball linebacker class with him and Storm Miller that I think can only get better. You look at upcoming commitments or decisions from Tank King and Tamarian Watkins, and you could be looking at a four-player linebacker class for Jay Bateman, and I don't think that they snub their nose at that at all. I mean, what are numbers nowadays? We've talked about this quite a bit in recruiting. Like, what do the numbers matter? I mean, a lot of these kids, you can look at your position group and go, okay, we've got, I'm just making up a number here. You have 7 scholarship linebackers that you feel good about. And then 10 months later, you're going, oh, we have 2.
Right. Just
for various circumstances. So I don't really worry about the numbers. If you think all these kids are going to be good players and can impact your program at the next level, then you take them and you figure it out. It'll all sort itself out in the wash as this thing goes on. I do wonder if maybe some of this player movement gets curtailed by the House settlement. We'll see. But until that it does, I think you have to recruit like it won't. And you have to recruit under the current circumstances and what you know to be true in this arena of recruiting. And that's add as many of the best players as you can. And you look at linebacker, you look at a position like tight end where they've got 2 committed, and I put out a note on another target, Evan Jacobson, who could be coming, nearing a decision himself. I put out a note on that this morning on the message board. So I think the staff is not super worried. Obviously, you can't just go crazy at a position in terms of numbers, but they're not too worried about, hey, if it's one more than we probably thought we needed, if it's a good player, we're going to take him.
The message, the pitch seems to resonate with these recruits, Bronny.
Yeah, it's you have to go back, and that was kind of the crux of my article yesterday that I wrote. If you go back and look at what Mike Elko did when he got here, and just the first 3-4 weeks, maybe even a month, where he was on the road constantly, driving himself to high schools, driving himself to meet with the Texas High School Coaches Association, and not having a driver. Like, he was going to go do that himself. And while he's doing that, he's having to make calls on adding staff members, coaches, and recruiting staff. And you just look at where it all started with him when he got here. And whether it's good or bad or indifferent, there were some people that had questions about him as a recruiter. And those things have got to be put to bed by now. Like, they got to get this to signing day. We know that. They got to win football games. That's what it's going to come down to. We know that. But what he's shown as a recruiter, as the head of a recruiting organization now, has been phenomenal. And it started way back whenever he was laying the groundwork for what the fruits of their labor that they're seeing today. And what I mean by that is, that 2024 class was scramble mode.
Yeah.
But they were still able to sign Terry Bussey. They signed Miles Davis, who looks like a key contributor this year. They were able to get some recruitments over the line there late in that transition class that are going to have impacts on this football team. The 2025 class is when they were starting. They were way behind in terms of relationship, no doubt. But at least they had a little bit feel lay of the land. But we always pointed to 2026 as, okay, this 2026 recruiting cycle is when Texas A&M is going to start on even footing as their competitors. They're going to have the relationships. They're going to have to build the trust. They're going to know the ins and outs, the nuances of these recruitments, like who's the decision makers in these recruitments. They're going to have time to understand that about their big board across the country and across the state of Texas. And what they've shown is that they've put a lot of time and effort into doing that. And they've also completely re-energized and reinvigorated their official visits. They've reimagined how the media product that's coming out of them. It's been wildly successful. wildly successful. And you have to tip your cap to Mike Elko and the organization over there for putting themselves in the position that they're in right now.
And it's not just the recruiting, like getting the names. It's also the evaluations that go along with it, Bronny.
Yeah, and the one that sticks out the most to me is KK Johnson, Caden Johnson from Fort Bend Marshall, who every time this kid posts something on social media now, you're going, holy crap, like that's 6'7", 230 pounds moving like that. Nobody in the state of Texas had the forethought to say, hey, this kid's a big, giant athlete, but he's probably not a quarterback at the next level. Let's evaluate him somewhere else, except for Texas A&M. And now I think a lot of folks in the region are starting to catch on to that. And so A&M probably going to have to ward off some competitors, some big-time competitors now throughout the fall and later in the recruiting calendar for KK Johnson. I think they'll be fine. I think they can hold on. I think KK is a good kid. I think his family and the coaching staff at Fort Bend Marshall really appreciate A&M viewing him through a different lens and recruiting him at a different level than everybody else. But that is the evaluation part that went into it. And we talked about this. And you go back to the 2025 class and you look at a kid like Nelson McGuire, who was a kind of a later eval. They went and added him, and they've been nothing but reaped nothing but praise on that kid since he's gotten here, and he looks like a real SEC offensive lineman in the future. They're doing this across the state of Texas. They're doing this across the country, where it's just not just, hey, we're trying to land Tristan Keys and Booby Feaster and Aaron Gregory and all these top flight guys at wide receiver. We're going out and getting Caleb Tafua at tight end, who's a highly regarded guy has offers from across the country. We're also going to comb through all of these kids, whether they're in California, Florida, state of Texas, and we're going to use our evaluation, our analytical model, our player profile to make sure that we haven't overlooked a player that could come in and make an impact, like Chance Collins in the secondary. So they've done it in the state, they've done it across the country, and you have to just, if you're sitting evaluating, it's a big week for A&M, right? July 4th, July 5th, some big decisions coming up. If they're on the right side of a lot of these decisions, not just this week, but this month, I mean, how do you not give Mike Elko in the job that he's done on the recruiting staff an A+?
Yep, we'll do that. We'll talk about those 4th of July decisions and beyond on the other side. Right now, if your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during marquee events held throughout the year. Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, The Gathering. They welcome tens of thousands of guests to these events, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees with a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand, like title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition, and social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities with the Association of Former Students in multiple ways. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner that's been with the association for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. It is the Association of Former Students. Hey everyone, David Nuño and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically we start off the show in this section and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone, yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it, they'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned, but they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are like, say, a sports fan and you've always wanted to...
Everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dream of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Auto Insurance Studio. Fast, like I did on my spot. Recruiting Country.
You're just trying to get through this week so you can go on vacation.
Bro, at 11:15, out.
Yep.
This is how I roll.
Are you? Can you please don't shave your beard during vacation?
I will
Won't
shave
you
it.
come back with like full salt and pepper?
I look straight Unabomber-ish. Like I'm not a like. There's a certain level. This level of beard's fine. I get like a day or two past this, I start looking homeless.
I just can. Okay, well, can you just? You don't have to come on air with it, but can you take a photo? Let it grow out.
I've done it before. There was a point where I went 3 weeks without shaving on the show in 25, and it looked horrible.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. First off, it ages me.
If you do
I don't
that-
like looking old.
If you do that, I will completely shave my face.
I don't think I want to see you like that. I think I like you like this. I like you having a mask. And why would I hide this?
So does my wife, I think.
I'm just kidding. July 4th, big time decisions. You want to start with Tank King?
Yeah, I mean, it's been the most long-time target, I think. Well, I think him and Booby Feaster have been kind of equally pegged on the top of the big board, for the same amount of time. And just felt like Tank coming down to A&M, Michigan, Texas, and Notre Dame. And I think A&M has been in the catbird seat on that one for a while, and don't anticipate that changing. Tank has really kind of gone media silent as after he made all of his official visits, and this would be another. I think this would be he'd be a really nice boost for the class. He'd be a really nice boost for the in-state perception. His name carries some weight amongst recruits in the state, and he's just like Booby Feaster. They've been on the radar for so long, and Booby actually as like the 7th or 8th grader is whenever he started picking up offers, and he's making his decision on July 4th as well. And A&M and USC seem like they've kind of emerged as the two leaders there. If you made me pick, I'd lean A&M, but it's not enough to make me say, hey, it's certain it's coming this way. USC has the number 1 class in the country, and A&M's like chasing them. Now, USC's got 30-something commitments already. A&M doesn't have quite that, but this is a real thing. Like, the Trojans are a real threat for Booby. But to me, when I look at that recruitment, I just go, Texas kid that A&M's been on for so long, DeSoto kid, the ties to the program at A&M from DeSoto going all the way back to Von Miller, now Tony Girardetti on staff, and Armaje Reed-Adams and Tiger Ryden, just the whole thing. I just think that's why I lean A&M's way. But USC's making that interesting. And then
Bryce Perry Wright.
Bryce Perry Wright is on July 5th, Saturday. That one, if you'd have asked me 2 days ago, I'd have said it's going to be Clemson. I thought Dabo Swinney had done enough to win over the kid and the family, and he was going to go play in the ACC. And now I think I may have been a little premature in thinking that. I think A&M has definitely got a real chance there. Real chance.
Bronny, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
When we come back around the SEC, TexAgs Live. The music stopped. That's okay. We'll be back with Billy Liucci, I think. Can you name the band? You're this is really awkward. Really silent.
No.
No. Have you ever heard that song?
Yes. Who is it?
Journey. Thanks for playing.
Yep.
TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Waiting for Billy to get to the studio. While we wait for young William, we'll do Around the SEC, brought to you by the Jaxer Group. And actually, let me just remind you guys about registering for the 2025 TexAgs preseason kickoff, available to all premium and varsity subscribers. The registration link is in Billy's Premium Forum. The event is July 26th at the MSC. We'll hear from several of the head coaches across A&M athletics, as well as have athletes in attendance. If you would like to sponsor a table, the event for the event, or donate an auction item, please email sponsors@texags.com and come kick off the 2025 season with us. All right, so around the SEC, Phil Steele, who we need to get on the program, ranked the SEC schedules from toughest to easiest, okay? And the toughest schedule, apparently, and one of the toughest schedules in the entire country, belongs to Mississippi State, who will be playing Texas A&M. They went 2-10 last year, 0-8 in the SEC. So for them, every game is going to be a tough game. The Bulldogs host Arizona State, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, and Ole Miss, while hitting the road for A&M, Florida, Arkansas, and Missouri. Number 2 hardest schedule, according to Philip Steele. He likes to go by Philip now. Arkansas, who nationally has the 3rd toughest schedule in the country, coming off a 7-6 season. They jump from 23 to number 3 in the schedule difficulty. They'll face Memphis, who's had 10-plus wins in back-to-back years on the road. They'll take on Notre Dame, and they have SEC home games, including A&M, Auburn, and Mississippi State. Okay? The next one, South Carolina, coming to Kyle Field. They are 4th nationally, number 3 on the list. LSU, who went 9-4 last year, by the way. They are the 4th hardest schedule in the SEC. They have games, obviously, to start the season against Clemson, and then home games against Florida, South Carolina, Texas A&M, and Arkansas, while some of their road games include Ole Miss, Alabama, and Oklahoma. So they do have a tough one. Number 5 on the SEC list. We're still not at A&M, by the way. A&M, not, according to Phil, not one of the hardest schedules in the country. Oklahoma went 6-7 last year. They do have a top 10 schedule in 2025. They have Michigan at home and road trips to South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama. Obviously, they play Texas every year. Kentucky comes in at number 6, 9th nationally. Florida coming to Kyle Field, number 7 on the list. They finished 8-5 last year, and they had an awesome November, obviously. They'll play South Florida, Miami, and Florida State, along with their typical SEC grind, which includes Texas, Mississippi State, Georgia, and Tennessee at home. Going on the road, by the way, to LSU, to Texas A&M. So that's a very tough one. Now we get to A&M, and according to Phil Steele, A&M has the 8th hardest schedule, which puts them in the middle, obviously, if you know how to do math, in SEC, 14th in the country. So basically, if you play an SEC schedule, typically you have a very hard schedule, and they have, we know their schedule, I don't need to tell you, but the Notre Dame game to start off the season, road games at Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, and Texas, home games, Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida, South Carolina. He says that they could be the number 2 surprise team in the SEC, number 2 surprise team. The next team on the schedule is the University of Texas. They have the 15th hardest schedule and number 9 in the SEC. 13-3 last year, we know that. They'll go to Ohio State, the defending champions. They'll host Vandy, Arkansas, and A&M with a road trip to Florida and Kentucky, Mississippi State, plus Georgia, and you know the Red River rivalry. Number 10 on the list, according to Phil Steele, the Auburn Tigers, who open up at Baylor, and obviously Baylor is, if not the projected winner of the Big 12, they're 1A, 1B. SEC home games include Georgia, Missouri, Kentucky, and Alabama, and then road games, Oklahoma, A&M, and Arkansas. I feel weird reading all these, but I'll just finish it off with Alabama, the 11th hardest schedule. They do have Florida State and Wisconsin, plus at home they have Tennessee coming, they have LSU coming, and Oklahoma. They go on the road for Georgia, and they go on the road for South Carolina and Auburn. So I think that's actually a pretty tough schedule. Vandy, the 12th hardest schedule in the SEC, 28th in the country. They finished 7-6 last year. Does that mean that they get to have an easier schedule? Georgia, who I thought had a pretty tough schedule, he has them as the 13th hardest schedule in the SEC, 44th overall. Tennessee coming in at 14th. And you have, let's see, Ole Miss at 48th overall, 15th hardest schedule. Missouri, we knew this. They had the easiest schedule in the SEC last year. They have the easiest schedule in the SEC this year. And they have a national top 50 schedule finishing last year 10-3. We know that A&M does go to Missouri with that. And now we turn our attention to the executive editor, the co-owner, the traveling man himself, Billy Liucci.
Traveling, I went out town for 2 nights.
In several cities, but like Lufkin and Baton Rouge.
I did that. I don't even know what you're talking about. That was the last trip. You guys act like y'all are the mad vacationers. Week off, Olin's gone. Like, I don't even know who's who. I go away for 2 nights. Literally 2 nights.
Okay, so you're comparing the time off.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have none. Like, and you know this. There's no such thing as downtime for me. I get badgered by you, Bronny, Howell, Olin, Zane, definitely.
You realize that you're
I don't have a day, like.
You're the decision maker in the company. You realize that.
Yeah, but you know that, like, owners of, like, Fortune 500 companies or these massive corporations, they can actually leave and, like, check out for that time period.
So
especially if it's 2 days.
I bothered you yesterday, right?
It's like I can't even come up for air.
I bothered you yesterday, right? And I asked, what time do you want to be on the show? Because I want to cater to your schedule, Billy.
Hey.
Maybe next time I'll do it at 6 a.m. on the day of the show.
Well, I was on Eastern time zone this weekend, so that was nice.
Okay.
I could have and you know what? If we're being honest, I could have sat there in the room and done a morning show. I was sitting there. I woke up early. Probably went to sleep at 4 a.m. Woke up at 8 Cleveland time, and I'm just sitting there like, what can I do? It's only 7 a.m. in College Station. Maybe I'll wake Nuño up.
I was awake for 2 hours after a workout and a run. Chop some wood.
Run.
Yeah, I definitely did that.
So anyway, that's what I did. I actually played golf this weekend.
Are you a golfer?
No, I played like 3 times, 4 times ever.
Okay.
I played Monday in a tournament, like a charity tournament up there, and really nice course.
Yeah.
Apparently it was really, I thought it was really nice, and then it was confirmed that it was not, I think it was called Sand Ridge, maybe.
Oh, Sand Ridge, it's a classic place.
You say that.
I've heard the name Sand Ridge.
No, you haven't, but it's actually nice.
Have you heard it? Yeah, I've heard it.
They don't allow beards there.
Do you not like the homeless beard?
No, I like it.
Okay. Shall we start with DeQuivis Beck, since that's what we finished with the last segment? And I wrote this down because I think it's an important part of it. But the month that they've had, and really the last, 7 days of all the people they've added, DeQuivis Beck, Zayden Krempin, Avery Morco, here in just the last 7 days.
Say that again?
In the 7 days, DeQuivis Beck, Zayden Krempin, and Avery Morco. That's just
I think it's Morcho. It's going to get confusing because you have Morcos as a quarterback.
Eli Morco, yeah.
And then you have Avery Morcho. These, to me, these guys, I'm pretty excited. We're going to get more excited about the Giant stars, including one of Beck's teammates. You went with KJ Edwards. Yep. You got Edwards, Arrington in a row. Those were pretty. Those were the exciting ones. Not the exciting. They're all exciting at this point. But those ones that are these national top 100 guys, and these last 3 haven't been. But you go like Krempin had the whole country recruiting him. Morcho, you look at, like I've said it a million times. You look at like an Ernest Crownover. I mean, Demetrius, not Ernest. He's not a fullback. Demetrius Crownover. And that's what he reminds you of, this like super developmental guy that's going to grow into, what he is. Jermaine Ifedi was another one that was able to do that. He had to grow down, Jermaine did, but you were just projecting like what kind of player he was going to be a couple years down the road versus at that moment. And then Beck, man, is just an exciting tape to watch. He's a fly-around linebacker. I like linebackers when I watch them. You immediately go, man, this guy just knows how to play the position. He's instinctive, and that's what stands out to me about him. He's instinctive, and the closing speed also stands out when you just watch little clips of him. I think they're going to do really good at linebacker in this class. I think Jay Bateman knows what he's looking for. And this is I say a good start. You've got Storm Miller. Speaking of Cleveland, he's not from Cleveland, but Ohio. Storm Miller's a guy that I also really love. I saw him. He was at a practice one day, and you're going, I wonder what position. You know, you could from a distance.
You could tell.
And then you saw him. I go, yeah, that's a linebacker. And what that kid's going to look like in a couple of years is, you just think of like those kind of Big Ten linebackers over the years. He's going to be that type dude. So I really like what they're going to end up with at linebacker, and I think they'll ultimately. Well, I say ultimately. Today's July what?
Second.
And in a couple of days, like I think Tank King. You know, we've been thinking that for a while. Obviously, there was a slip up last week, but I think they're looking outstanding there, and for several others. I mean, this thing. Where we at right now, July 2nd, I can name you about 5 guys I feel
pretty good about,
really good to great about. You know, Bryce Perry-Wright, a lot of people had written him off. I know Bronny had put out an update today, but I mean, people say, well, we might be back in it. They never left. They were not in it. See, everyone tries to move the target on that. They weren't ever out of it for him, and I would say back in it is a colossal understatement for the 5-star interior defender. So, you know, what with the other guy? What about Tristan Givens? I didn't even mention him. I'm talking about those high 4 to 5-star guys.
Which feels like weeks ago, and it was not that long ago.
I mean, that's a game-changing edge guy. Perry Wright on the inside. Brandon Arrington, a lockdown corner, 5-star. You know, KJ Edwards and Hatton, Jonathan Hatton, like 2 of the top 3 backs, maybe in the country. Definitely the 1 and 2 in the state of Texas. You got Boobie Feaster deciding soon, and I know, you know, people are saying USC is making a push there. I'm not saying I'm not worried about it. I think he's going to end up an Aggie when it's all said and done. I feel very good about that. So. Look at that class now and add some of what we just said. And this is the other thing. I'm with a bunch of football fans up there in Ohio this weekend, and they're all asking about A&M and the recruiting in this class. You know, it's making waves outside of the state of Texas. Let's put it that way. It's making waves outside the state, which is pretty phenomenal. And by the way, we always talk about the big 3 sports. I did have someone, big college football / golf guy, tell me his club, Inverness in Ohio, in which, go ahead, make fun of that one. Make fun of that one. Try to make it sound like that's not a good course.
I went to Inverness over here at Walden recently.
Yeah. Would you do bird watch over there?
No. We used to have a condo on the first hole of the golf course, actually. Thank you. Thanks for bringing up good times.
Why'd you have to give it up?
It was the 80s. It was like
condo.
Yeah.
So anyway, he watched the Aggies win a national title on that golf course. JT, Bronson Burgoon, that crew watched them win it in Toledo. You know, in what 2009 or 10? What was that? But anyway, yeah. He saw him win and said there's pictures of it all over the facility there.
Well, and
by the way, did you see Nuño that they are building? And Nick, did you see this? I'd actually love to hear Dawson's Creek over here. You know, we're gonna start calling him because he's such a stat nerd. Should he be Dawson's Geek?
That's not bad.
Complimentary geek, like we love Dawson.
Yeah.
He's not like
we love him.
Dawson's Geek. That should be a segment.
Have you spoken to Dawson recently?
I don't. No.
Okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah, he's great. He's doing great. He's awesome. He was on the show this morning.
Did he get a job?
I'll just talk to him.
He probably got a job. Good for him. He's gonna go change the world one engineering thing at a time. But Dawson's Geek would have been a hell of a segment. But I guess now you broke the news that he's gotten a job and
he's still going to work at TexAgs.
Oh, good.
I didn't say anything like that.
Did we hire him?
No. Why would we? No.
Because he's Dawson's Geek. He could have a whole segment and actually give y'all good stats to be in front of you so you and OB don't have to go.
What was it?
You look at, What was that again?
One of us asked questions. I don't ask
No,
questions. I just get stage fright when I was like, I think I know the answer, but I better not say it.
We need whoever's in that chair to start paying attention to every word, and before they even ask you, just be like,
Pablo.
So, because you know it's coming. You know they're going to ask you. You know they're going to melt down.
Look at her face. Just leave me alone, please.
They're putting a dome in Cleveland. And a lot of people don't like it. I'm one of them.
You want Cleveland to feel like it's the dog pound. It's snow, yeah.
I mean, how many awesome games can you remember? Even though Cleveland hasn't even been good, but snow games and mistake by
So
let's see what they say. Going to cost where am I from? Going to cost our bar $1 million a year. Our other bars and stuff probably combined $2 million total to have a roof.
Why would that hurt the bar?
Probably because a lot of people will go to all the games as opposed to just saying it's snowing. I'm not going. I'm going to go sit in the bar.
Huh.
So I guess the Browns know what they're doing.
Yeah. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. I got a couple of little different options to discuss with you during the break.
Yep.
All right, endorsement time for Heritage Films. When it comes to preserving your farm or your ranch's legacy, it's about telling that story of what your family found and how they made it so important to the entire generations that come. Transferring the values that you built your operation on for those who are going to inherit it later. Chance McClain and his team do this awesome job of telling people's stories. So if we're talking about your family ranch and your family farm, they can tell the story of when it was founded and what it means to have that soil, that land for your family and for those future generations. They can also tell the stories of your grandfather, your mother, your uncle, whoever it may be. Chance and his team do these 2-hour documentaries that are awesome. They're breathtaking. Visit yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, and click on Farm and Ranch Films, or call them up at 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films.
All right, guys, let's talk about some new partners. Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie owned and operated. They are an mobile IV hydration company that was founded back in 2024. I met with Sheldon and Danny over the last week, and they're awesome people. They really know what they're doing. They're proud to serve Bryan College Station with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and even some weight loss options. Whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. And on a busy weekend, I know some of you guys might be partying a little bit too much. If that's the case, an IV can be one of the easiest ways to ensure you're receiving all those necessary vitamins and minerals that make you feel better. Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to the broader range of clientele here in the Bryan College Station and Brazos Valley area. To book an appointment or inquire about it, just call them up or text them. 979-217-1561. Again, it's Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Check them out. It's our friends at Aggieland Hydration and Injectables.
Why don't you think there's any fluidity to my ability to play basketball or any sport? Why do you think I'm not an athlete when you've never seen me do anything?
Well, first of all, I'll start by saying I don't think I am, but I do think.
You tell me all the time nobody throws a better spiral.
I didn't never say I throw a better spiral.
You
I
talked about.
I can throw fairly well. I don't. I wish I threw a better spiral, actually, more consistently. So that's wrong.
I think everybody's heard it.
This is how I picture you shooting layups. I was telling Luke, I could see you like being the old man post up and then like that.
I've done that. I wouldn't call that a layup. I would call that my hook.
That's how I picture
it's called the Cuban
like
hook.
Your arm coming up, like the ball's kind of cupped in there, and you're like, do this.
If you do the Cuban hook and you like spin your wrist like that, it does this like the spin on the ball, and it just goes in. The Cuban hook.
The Cuban hook.
That's what we call it. Like that. You gotta bring it in. They get the foul, and then you spin it up.
Okay, let's go on because this is. I don't even know.
We're not going long today, by the way. We're gonna get it all in right now.
Oh, we're gonna go long.
No, if you are. Can I? I've already talked about it, so I kind of cringe bringing it back up. But I'd like to get the Billy take on Arch being the best quarterback since Tim Tebow per Paul Feinbaum.
Paul knows how to get a
reaction.
Get a reaction, and now, if Paul Feinbaum was saying that he thinks Arch Manning, with the name and the build-up and playing at Texas in a year that they're going to start in the top 5, is going to be the most hyped young quarterback in the SEC since Tim Tebow, I would say yes. And there's a guy named Johnny Manziel in between. Cam Newton was not a
He wasn't
freshman,
hyped coming into
and
it.
he also wasn't hyped. And Johnny was not hyped before he played. He won that Heisman his first year. So if you want to say, like, this is the most build-up and hype and most talked about quarterback we've seen in the SEC that hasn't started yet, I know he started a couple games, but that, a first-year starter, because Joe Burrow wasn't. I don't feel like Tua was. Jalen Hurts wasn't. I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's somebody out there, but not many. And
Tua was pretty hyped, I think.
He wasn't hyped enough that they thought he was going to start his first year. I mean, he came in. I know he was.
Well, Arch didn't
I know
start.
he's a hyped recruit, but nothing like to the level of Arch. I'm
No,
just
no,
trying
no,
to-
no, no, but-
so, like, I don't think any of these guys are even in the same stratosphere in terms of what we're going to, even Fields at Georgia was somebody that was so talked about, but you had, a guy in front of him there from, I don't know, Nuño. I really don't know if there is a, so if that was the statement, or the intent of the statement, then I would agree. If it is the best, which is what is that how it reads?
It's right, yeah.
Then I think that's, he's
It's just for
he's
reaction.
getting a lot of run, like Stephen A. Smith does with stuff. He's just getting a lot of run he went all the way with this, I'm going to get as much engagement on this one as I can.
But let's just, for a moment, say he is the best quarterback. For him to do that, that means he's got to be better than Joe Burrow was. That means he's got to be better than Cam Newton was. That means, and the only way you get there is with multiple national championships.
Well, Johnny's on the list without any.
Sure, but
Johnny's on the very short list. Like,
If
when
there
you think about best quarterbacks
since 08,
just in the SEC, yeah, or since Tebow. There's Cam, there's Burrow, there's Tua, there's
Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, you're talking about college football. I'm saying in the SEC.
Just the SEC, okay.
But did he say college? I don't know. But just in the SEC, there's been
best quarterback in college football since Tebow.
Jesus. Yeah, we could waste a lot of time coming up with names. I think the guy has a chance to be really good. I think his upside is, off the charts, number 1 pick type. I mean, does he remind? Is Does he remind people of like Andrew Luck? I know everyone's like,
He was
oh
pretty
no,
hyped.
Manning can run. Man, have you ever seen Andrew Luck run? But I'm just thinking of a big 225 plus pound quarterback with height that can really throw it and run. But again, we are anointing this quarterback way too much, in my opinion, without him proving anything. We've talked about this on the Moving Goalpost podcast more than once. I think there's more of an argument today that you make between Arch and Marcel Reed and the other quarterbacks in the conference, where you can Sellers, Nussmeier, who else coming back? I'm thinking, Lagway. Like, I think you're talking about like him versus those type quarterbacks first, before you even move on to start saying
ever
Heisman, ever All-American. Like, the question is, what has to happen for him to be considered one of the two best quarterbacks in the SEC this year? And I'm not saying that can't happen. I certainly could see a world where that happens.
Well, I mean, if the
but there
record,
are questions like the offensive line there in Austin, the receiving core, and I know like what gets thrown in my face when I say that is, well, you said that last year, and look what happened. Yeah, and y'all also were the same ones that were telling me it was because they signed Isaiah Bond, and he was going to be legend. He's still not even signed by an NFL team, last I saw, and everyone's telling me now they're saying Bond wasn't very good. Well, yeah, but Ewers was going to New York as a Heisman, and Bond was going to be unstoppable. And neither of those happened, but thank God for them, for Matthew Golden saved the day. So I do think there's a world where you have a difficulty replacing Golden and some of that receiving core, along with an all-new O-line. These things matter. You know, when Johnny did it unexpectedly, it was because he had Swope, Mike Evans, and 3 first-round picks on the offensive line and 5 NFL linemen. When, the guys at Bama do it, it's because of all that talent around them. Now, the expectation is that that's what Arch is going to have. But
Right.
I think that's the part that I'm like, could it be possible that a young offensive line has to come into its own, and that as that's happening along with an inexperienced quarterback, because maybe that's all the negative you can say about him. Maybe it's just that he's just inexperienced. And we can just assume that he's got every other intangible and he lacks experience. If that's what you want to do, and I don't even know if that's true, but if that's what you want to do, inexperienced quarterback behind an offensive line that loses 4 starters, and you lose your biggest playmaker at receiver, I do think that all factors in. And when we're trying to evaluate Marcel Reed, part of it is an offensive line that returns its top 7. And so Texas really put Quinn on their back a little bit there in some of those games with a devastating ground game behind that veteran offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
That's changed. Whereas now A&M's got that part. And you look at A&M's best years in the SEC, it was 2020 when they had 5 NFL-bound offensive linemen, including a longtime starter in the NFL now, and Dan Moore. And it happened in 2012 when they had Matthews and Jokel and Said and Pat Lewis and Jarvis Harrison. So that's not coincidence. So when Texas was able to come in the SEC and hit the ground running, what'd they have? Dominance on the offensive line and dominance on the defensive line. So I think there are questions not just about that statement. And I think when you're looking at these quarterbacks and you're trying to project this year in the SEC and even nationally, start to go back to who's going to have the best weapons to distribute the ball to, and then go and narrow it down even further and go, okay, and now who has the best guys in front of them blocking?
So, and we got to hit a break here, but this is something that I put on the rundown. McElroy and Kublik had their top offensive lines in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
He makes a case for Texas being in the top 10, but Texas was not in the top 10, talking about Cole. But the top three all have A&M ties to it. Number 1, Notre Dame. Number 2, A&M. And number 3, Florida. So two of the top 3 A&M will
when
face.
you start hearing it, and we know that Notre Dame O-line, we saw them kind of give a glimpse of what was to come. You know, they forgot how to do that the very freaking next week. It's Northern Illinois, but we saw them flash what they're capable of, right?
Mm-hmm.
I say Northern, yeah. And then if Florida has that kind of line, man, and because they've got the running back weapons as well, and they've got talent at receiver and defense, I see why people are picking them. But I looked today, there was a graphic that came out with the top 10 SEC head coaches. And this was 104.5, so this was just Chris Marler. So it's just, I like Chris. This is just like a list. It's one person's list. But I'm looking to see where Napier comes in. Oh, there he is at number 11. I don't trust Billy Napier with all of that. So that's why I won't pick Florida to be a breakthrough. But they will be a tough offense to stop. I do believe that.
By the way, Auburn, number 8 on that list. So another team that A&M will face.
Yep.
We'll hit a break. We'll come back with more. Right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. If you're looking for a selection that won't break the bank and you want a selection with several different options, you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're locally owned. Their Aggie alumni team is ready to roll out the red carpet for you. So when you go there, you're going to have a pleasant experience, and you're going to have a wonderful selection of vehicles to choose from. And then, of course, that customer service that they're known for with complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers, free oil changes for life on the purchase, on the life of your purchase. And don't wait, because a lot of times these deals don't last very long. You want to get on there, you go on there online and see what they have and get a feel for it right away. It's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and you do business with Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, Billy, I would like to talk to you about, and we can do this part of it short, but something that we discussed in the first segment of the program with Matthew Dawson, I don't know if you saw that, about A&M on the road and beating ranked teams.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't won on the road against the ranked teams since 2014. I think the record's...
Is that South Carolina or...
It was Auburn, the last time that they won on the road.
Oh, wow, because South Carolina started that year, and they spiraled out, and is that the year they beat... Was that when they beat number 3 Auburn, probably in November?
That number 3 Auburn's the last one that they have on that list.
That's pitiful.
Yeah.
But we know that. We know that. We don't have to apologize and do this whole segment of self-loathing. You could just say it in one sentence. That's pitiful.
I was actually going to extend that sentence. That this season, it has to come to an end. Last year they didn't have any chances. This year you have 3 chances.
Yeah, I would say it doesn't have to come to an end if you win the other 9, or it does have to get to 9. Yeah, because you've got LSU. Well, no, I think you could lose
all those and win every home game. Sure,
you could lose the 3 most meaningful road games you play, and win at Arkansas, win at Missouri, and win all the home games and be 9-3, and probably go into Austin in legit playoff contention. And I think that's to me like the minimum type season where you go, okay, that was a step forward.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to, because I also think it's a really tall order to sit there and say you're going to win all those home games. So you might have to get a road game that somewhere. I thought last year was a start. One thing we have to not do, and I tell this to Aggies and other people too. You don't hold Mike Elko accountable for what happened before Mike Elko was your effing head coach. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. We do too much of that around here. Okay? Now, if you didn't like his defenses when he was the defensive coordinator and you want to go on some deep dive of why you don't like him, that's different. But as far as like, you can't, it is pitiful that what they've done away from home. That's also part of why Mike Elko is the coach here.
Mm-hmm.
There is a change because of that. I don't know how many of those road losses I would look and say, oh, well, they couldn't, that drive against LSU would certainly be one of them. But mostly it was, I think, because just the offense and the team and the lack of scoring, all those things. But
I have all the games if you're interested.
No, I mean, do you want to go down the list since 14? I mean, we could do it. Sure, go ahead. We'll do 2 extra segments today.
Hi, Billy. The average loss in those games was by 16 points.
Wow. Now, I will say, a lot of those, to make that number what it is, a lot of those were in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, every other year. And there was a 50-7 knot that Joe Burrow and LSU put on I think their heads. In
this stretch, LSU twice with 50. Is it twice? Yeah, twice with 50-plus points.
Yeah, but one was
50-7. The other one closer, 54-39.
Yeah, that was with Jaden Daniels.
2016. Oh, that was Alabama. I'm sorry, I'm looking at Alabama. No, I'm looking at LSU. Yeah, they were number 25 in the country, 54-39. I'm looking at it.
What year was that?
2016.
Yeah, that was at Kyle Field. That's why that was Trevor Knight and maybe, I don't know if it's Darius guys from this is why I can't. Hello,
Matthew Dawson put it together. The engineer.
We need someone to fact check these people besides me. Okay, let's just stop.
Sorry.
Let's just say what I was saying. Let's go back to what I was saying. Let's just pause it, go back.
Okay.
And everyone in the back that's transcribing, fool all those dumbass Longhorns on the sites that are going to sit there and read it and think that I write at a 3rd grade level because they don't understand what a transcription is. And they think that's actual content we're putting out, and they still can't figure that out. So they're like, oh, you're dumb, you can't write. And they don't realize it's transcription. No, it's you. It's not us, it's you. But keep listening, please. And definitely keep talking about me. So as we continue, let me go back to what I was actually saying.
Yes, sir.
You don't hold the sins of
Summy
A&M prior to
team,
Mike Elko against Mike Elko. So when you go, oh, it's just not you. Oh, it's just another 8-4. And you know, when you talk about, damn, they're really recruiting well. Oh, we're just going to go 8-4 again. So why do I stop paying attention to it then? Just go away. Don't come back when it's better. And even if it stays the same, you should probably check out and tune out because you don't enjoy it. You're not letting yourself enjoy like when they recruit good, when they're 7-1. You're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You can't, there are things you can critique and break down about Elko's first season, and if it gives you reason for pause or if it gives you heartburn or if you're not bought in because of that, then I get it. It's fair. Like you have your opinion, you have your take. But if you refuse to get excited that they're contending for the #1 class because Jimbo signed the #1 class and it didn't work out, and you're going to choose to ignore all the other #1 classes ever signed, and how I would be willing to bet that is a great indicator of future on-field success, but you're going to pick the one that you are a part of and hold it against Mike Elko and this current staff, then that's on you. And it's also the wrong thing to do. It's not right. It's a completely different culture. It's a completely different style of recruiting. I've seen them pass on red flag kids in this particular group, and since he's gotten here, that in the past they would have taken. We know the names. We know they were high risk, high reward, and they took the shot and it failed. I wasn't lining up saying they shouldn't have done it. I'm not doing revisionist history because I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't. I was like, yeah, stack talent, and hopefully you have a culture that can
overcome,
that the good can bring them along with them. You didn't do that. But to hold that against him, to hold 8-4, no, it's not 8-4 A&M all over again. A&M went 5-7 and 7-5 the 2 years prior. It was 8-4 with 2 top 10 wins at home. It was 8-4 where you went into the last game of the season playing for a chance to go to the SEC title game for, I think, just the second time in 13 years since joining the SEC, maybe the first. So it's you don't hold the past stuff against them. So with this road record, I would look and go, okay, hey, that's part of the story. They lost at South Carolina. They lost at Auburn late. That's a fair way to look at it. Your inability to get it done on the road late kept you out of the SEC title game. It absolutely did. I would say South Carolina was a really good team. They were coming off a bye. They were lying in wait. That was brutally tough. I don't think you can say that at all about Auburn. You should have beaten Auburn, okay? But with that said, you had that long, it was what, a 10-game road losing streak?
Came to an end against Florida.
You went on the road in the swamp with a first-time starter, Marcel Reed, and you kicked their ass. And you whipped their ass. And then
Mississippi State.
And then you went to Mississippi State and you won, okay? Not a good team at all. Not at all.
You won.
But it was, you have always struggled in Starkville, and you won. And so, and they went away from home and beat Arkansas, but that's what most A&M teams do. But still, I thought you took a step towards showing we're going to be prepared to go play on the road. And I don't think they were prepared to go play on the road for whatever reason for that Auburn game. 21-0, 3 drives in. They got blitzkrieged. They adjusted and course corrected and took it to all those overtimes. But that was the only game where it felt like, and really all year, right?
Yeah.
Where it felt like, man, they just didn't show with what's required to go and win in the SEC, particularly on the road. But I think, again, you don't hold that against this coach. You judge him on last year, and you also have to say last year and this was year one.
Yeah.
And you factor in what were the NFL-bound guys? Who were the star players? That's fair. It's the fair way to do it. And if you're not, then you're doing it wrong. And that's why this year is so big. And it's so big, David, for the road stuff, like you said. It's so big to try to get over that 8-4 hump. You got to take a step forward, and then you've got a class coming in. It might be number 1, it might be number 2, it might be number 4 or 5. It doesn't matter. It's going to be an elite class. And I think he's also shown in 2 cycles what he can do in terms of the portal.
And to be fair, Coach Elko did not have any road ranked games against ranked teams on the road last year. So, Daily Company, a family-owned, licensed, and insured business that offers HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and generator services available 24/7. And when it comes to HVAC, they'll take care of your thermostat repairs, your refrigerant leaks, your furnace failures, your seasonal tune-ups. On the plumbing side, leak repairs, clogged drains, water heater installation, maintenance to keep those pipes in top shape. Also electrical, which means they'll fix your wiring, your outlet repairs, your upgrades for safety and efficiency, and generator repair, maintenance, and installation. They serve Bryan College Station, they serve Houston, they serve Austin with upfront prices and no surprises. Contact the Daily Company at 979-2060-2020, 979-260-2020, or visit them at godaily.com to experience the daily difference. It's the Daily Company. No. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Final segment of the program. Brought to you by Double Dates, of course. We've got about a minute and a half left here. Looking through the YouTube chat, Billy, lots of conversation on the Arch stuff. We've moved on from that, but also some good conversations about dominant rushing attack for A&M with what we've already talked about being a elite line. When you think about Reuben Owens this year, because I think we know what a healthy Le'Veon Moss looks like. We have not seen what a seasoned, healthy Reuben Owens looks like. We have his freshman year. You know, just some thoughts about what Reuben could be this year, because I think if I remember correctly, at this time last year, we were talking about how good he looked coming into camp, like really, really good.
He had a really good spring. He added some great weight, which I thought he needed coming out of high school, which is normal. You know, like he's, you know, that's what he needed, a year in the weight room, and it showed. And both of those guys were great in the spring, and then I remember, I think it was fall camp, not spring ball. They had like a inside the 10 drill, 10 inside the 5 goal line, and by the way, neither of those guys were really available, you know, in the final game. I think Reuben had 3 carries or so against Texas, maybe less, but they were just like elite. And I remember people coming out of practice that particular day, and then during that time just saying, man, the running backs are really, really good. Really good. And I said when Elko and his staff first got there, one of the, I think the position more than any other where they were like, oh wow, this is like better than we expected. I mean, they knew what to expect with that D-line was running back. And it showed out in the fall because of what Le'Veon did, and also Amari Daniels as a backup. I mean, I know he had a rough one against Texas, but long touchdown run against Auburn, long touchdown run against South Carolina, like a 50-plus yarder. And then we've seen what Amari does. Long run against Auburn the year before. I forget who. Kind of closed out South Carolina the year before with the long touchdown run. So Amari, if he's your third back, and then you saw what E.J. Smith looked like in the bowl game.